I never liked my birthday much. It always felt a little lonely, like the day just reminded me how few people actually cared. But this one birthday, when I turned 17, something happened that I still can't explain. That evening, I was sitting alone in my room. The walls smelled faintly of old books and a bit of dust. My phone buzzed, lighting up the dark space. It was a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello?" I said. No reply. Just silence. Then, after a few seconds, a voice, soft and quiet, like a whisper close to my ear. "Happy birthday," it said. My heart jumped. The voice was familiar but distant, like a memory from years ago I couldn't quite place. I asked, "Who is this?" No answer. The line went dead. I checked the number, but it wasn't in my contacts. I brushed it off as a prank call. Then, the calls kept coming. Every hour, the phone would buzz with the same unknown number, and the same whispered "Happy birthday." No matter what I said, no reply. It got worse. One time I picked up, and I could hear faint breathing, not normal breathing. It was ragged, like someone struggling to breathe right next to the phone. I told them to stop calling, but the call ended, with a faint sound like someone laughing, low and almost sad. That night I couldn't sleep. My room felt colder than usual. I kept hearing quiet knocks on my window, but when I looked, no one was there. The air smelled like wet concrete, the kind you get after rain. The next day, I tried to find out who it was. I asked friends, but no one knew. No one remembered ever calling me. That voice, it sounded like someone I knew a long time ago. Someone who was my best friend when I was younger, but who disappeared from my life suddenly. I dug through old photos and messages, and there was no sign of this friend anywhere, like they had been erased. Weeks later, the calls stopped, but sometimes late at night, my phone lights up with a call from an unknown number. And when I answer, I hear that same soft whisper, "Happy birthday." I've never told anyone about it. I'm still not sure if it's a prank, a memory, or something else. But sometimes when I'm alone, I swear I can feel someone watching me. Someone I forgot. I didn't think much about my old friend Josh until after I moved back home from college. We used to be close when we were kids, but something happened in middle school and we drifted apart. I honestly thought I'd never see him again. But the strange part is, he never really left. It started a few weeks after I came home for summer break. My parents were away on a trip, so I was alone in the house, just me and the quiet rooms. The house smelled like old wood and the faint scent of lavender my mom always used. It was the kind of silence that feels heavy. One night, I was sitting in my room, scrolling on my phone, when I heard a soft knock on the front door. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I ignored it at first. The knock came again, more urgent this time, like someone was trying hard to get in. I got up and looked through the peephole. No one was there. Just the empty porch, lit by the dim yellow glow of the porch light. I thought maybe it was the wind or an animal, so I closed the door and went back to my room. Then, late that night, I heard footsteps. Soft but slow. Walking. Across the hallway outside my door. I froze, heart beating fast. The floor creaked under the weight, and the sound got closer and closer until it stopped just outside my door. I wanted to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. The doorknob rattled slightly, as if someone was trying to open it. "Josh?" I whispered, even though I didn't believe it could be him. The knob stopped moving. Silence. I stayed awake the rest of the night, listening to every little sound. When morning came, I checked the hallway. No sign of anyone. No footprints. Nothing. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things, but the feeling that someone was there didn't go away. The next few days, strange things kept happening. My bedroom. Window was always closed, locked tight, but sometimes I'd find it open a crack when I woke up. I didn't think it was the wind because the latch was secure, and I'm the only one with keys to the house. I started hearing whispers, soft, low voices that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. At first, I thought it was the TV or my phone, but when I turned everything off, the whispers didn't stop. They sounded like someone calling my name, but it wasn't loud or clear, more like echoes in a cave. One afternoon, I was sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee when I noticed something on the fridge. A photo taped there. It was an old picture of me and Josh from when we were kids, smiling and standing in the backyard. I didn't remember putting it there. The tape was sticky and fresh. I peeled the photo off and looked around the kitchen, but no one was there. My hands were shaking. That night, I finally texted Josh. "Hey, it's been a long time. You around?" No reply. I felt silly. I knew Josh hadn't talked to me in years. But then, at midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from Josh. "Remember me?" My blood ran cold. I stared at the screen. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I typed back, "Where are you? How did you get my number?" No reply. Then my phone went dead. The screen went black like the battery was empty. I tried charging it, but it wouldn't turn on. That's when I heard it. A soft tapping on my bedroom window. I slowly turned my head toward the sound. The moonlight was faint, but I could make out a figure outside, the shape of a person standing. Very still. The window was closed. I swear it was locked. I didn't move. I just watched the figure for a long time. It didn't blink or move, just stood there in the dark. Then the figure disappeared. I ran to the window and looked outside. Nothing but shadows and the quiet street. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. My mind kept going back to that face, Josh's face, but it looked wrong. Like a faded photo with the edges burned. The next day, I called my mom and told her about everything. She sounded worried, but told me it was probably just my imagination. Maybe I was stressed from school. I wanted to believe her. But that night, things got worse. I woke up to the sound of my closet door creaking open. It was slow, like someone was pushing it with a finger. I sat up, heart pounding. "Josh," I said, voice shaking. No answer. The closet door opened wider. I could see the dark inside, and the faint outline of something moving. I reached for the lamp, but my hand froze. Suddenly, the closet slammed shut. I jumped out of bed and ran to the door. It was locked. I checked the lock and found it hadn't moved. I screamed for help, but no one was home. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the floor, eyes wide open. By morning, I was exhausted. I decided I had to leave. I packed a bag and went to stay with a friend. Before I left, I grabbed my old yearbook from the shelf. I flipped to the page with Josh's photo. My stomach dropped. Under his picture, someone had written a date and a name in shaky handwriting. Josh Parker, missing since 2015, remembered then. Josh never moved away. He disappeared when we were 14. No one ever found him. I never forgot about him because I thought he just stopped talking to me. But now, I wonder if he was never really gone. I've been back home twice since then. Each time I hear the footsteps outside my door, the whispers in the dark, and see that figure at the window. My phone still sometimes lights up with messages from an unknown number that say, "Remember me?" I haven't gone back to that room. Sometimes when the house is quiet and the air smells like old wood and dust, I swear I can hear Josh breathing. And I don't know if he's waiting for me or for someone else. When I was a kid, I had a friend named Mark. We met in elementary school and hung out all the time. Everyone knew us as best friends. But one summer, everything changed. That summer, my family moved into an old house on the edge of town. It was a quiet place with big trees and an overgrown garden. The house smelled like musty wood and wet earth. It had a basement that was always cold and dark. I hated going down there alone. At first, Mark came with me sometimes to play. We explored the basement and found old toys, broken furniture, and spider webs everywhere. I remember the air down there felt thick and heavy, like the basement was holding its breath. One afternoon, Mark disappeared. We were playing in the backyard, and then suddenly he was gone. I looked everywhere, called his name, but no answer. My parents said he must have gone home or gotten lost, but he never came back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing noises from the basement, soft footsteps, the creak of floorboards, like someone was moving around down there. I told my parents, but they said it was just the house settling. Weeks passed, but the noises didn't stop. One evening, I was in my room when I heard a soft tapping on my bedroom window. I looked out, but no one was there. Then I heard Mark's voice, quiet and sad. "Come play with me." I froze. My heart felt like it stopped. Mark had been gone for weeks. I opened the window, but only cold night air came in. From then on, Mark's voice called me almost every night. Sometimes he whispered my name, other times he begged me to come to the basement. I wanted to believe it was just my imagination. But one night I followed the voice. I crept down the stairs to the basement. The air was icy cold and the smell was stronger. Damp earth mixed with something else, something like old leather. The basement was pitch black except for a small flashlight I carried. The beam cut through the darkness and showed the walls, covered with strange marks, scratches and circles drawn in what looked like dirt. I called out, "Mark?" The voice came again, softer now, coming from the far corner. I walked slowly toward the sound, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Suddenly, my flashlight flickered and went out. I was left in total darkness. I could hear breathing, slow, heavy, and close. My hands trembled. I fumbled with the flashlight until the light came back. In the corner, I saw something moving. A shadow, or maybe a person. The shape stepped forward, but it wasn't quite right. It looked like Mark, but his eyes were empty. His skin was pale and his clothes were torn. "Come play," he said again, but the voice was cold and hollow. I ran up the stairs as fast as I could, my heart pounding. I slammed the basement door and locked it. After that night, Mark's voice stopped. I thought I was safe, but strange things kept happening. My toys would move when I wasn't looking. Doors would open and close by themselves. And sometimes, I'd wake up to find scratches on my arms, thin, red lines that looked like they were made by fingernails. I told my parents, but they said I was just having nightmares. One day, I found an old newspaper article tucked between the pages of a book in the living room. The headline read, "Boy missing in Old Town, search continues." The picture showed Mark. The article said he disappeared the same summer we moved in. I felt cold, all over. How had I forgotten something so important? I asked my parents about Mark, but they looked at me like I was crazy. "No one named Mark lived here," my mom said. "No one remembers a Mark," my dad added. I didn't know what to believe. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at the basement door. The house was silent except for a soft scratching sound coming from below. I heard Mark's voice one last time, "Don't forget me." When I was in high school, I had a friend named Lisa. We sat together in almost every class, shared lunch, and talked about everything. I thought we were close. But looking back now, I'm not so sure she was ever really my friend. It started during sophomore year, in the winter. The days were short and cold, and the school hallways smelled like wet coats and chalk dust. One day, after class, I was walking to my locker when I felt someone walking behind me. I turned quickly, expecting to see Lisa, but no one was there. I shrugged it off. Later that week, strange things happened. My locker would be open when I got there, even though I always locked it. Sometimes my books were moved around or missing pages. I asked around if anyone had seen anything, but no one did. One afternoon, Lisa didn't show up for class. I thought maybe she was sick. But no one talked about her at all. It was like she didn't exist. I asked some classmates about her, but they looked confused. "Lisa? Who's that?" they asked. I was shocked. I showed them a picture on my phone, but no one recognized her. I felt like I was losing my mind. I started checking my social media, looking for any sign of Lisa. Nothing. No messages, no pictures, no posts. It was like she was never there. That night, I got a message on my phone from an unknown number. It said, "Don't forget me." I replied, but got no answer. Then the messages kept coming, always short and strange. "Remember me. I'm still here." I felt scared, but also curious. One day after school, I stayed late to finish homework in the library. The room was quiet, except for the sound of my pen scratching on paper. Suddenly, I heard a soft voice behind me. "Hey." I turned, but no one was there. The air felt colder. I felt a light touch on my shoulder. I spun around, but the hallway was empty. I started walking home quickly, feeling eyes watching me. When I got home, I found a small note on my desk. It said, "You forgot me at school." I tried to throw the note away, but it always came back. In my backpack, in my jacket pocket, even inside my shoes. I stopped going to school alone. But the feeling didn't go away. I started seeing shadows in the corners of my eyes, hearing footsteps behind me when no one was there. One night, I woke up to a cold breath on my neck. I looked around my dark room. No one was there. I whispered, "Lisa." A soft voice whispered back, "Don't forget me." I never told anyone about this. I'm not sure what happened to Lisa or if she was ever really my friend. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I feel her watching me, and I know she's still waiting for me to remember. This happened a few years ago, and it still haunts me every day. I was working a late shift at a small hotel on the outskirts of town. The place was quiet and old, with narrow hallways and a faint smell of cleaning spray mixed with something stale, like old carpet and forgotten memories. I usually liked the night shifts because there weren't many guests, and I could listen to music while doing paperwork. But one night, something felt off. It was around midnight when the phone at the front desk rang. I picked it up, expecting it to be a guest asking for a late check-in or a wake-up call. But the voice on the other end was strange. "Do you remember me?" the voice whispered. I froze. It was a man's voice, soft and low, but there was something unsettling about it. "I'm sorry. Who is this?" I asked. There was a long pause. Then he said, "You forgot me." I told him I didn't understand and asked what he wanted. He didn't answer. The line went dead. I shrugged it off as a prank call, but then the calls kept coming every night, always. Around midnight, the man never said much, just those few words. "Do you remember me? You forgot me." Sometimes I thought I heard my name whispered, but I wasn't sure. I started feeling nervous at work. I kept looking around the empty lobby, feeling like someone was watching me. One night, a guest checked in late. A man wearing a worn-out jacket and a cap pulled low over his face. He gave me his name, but something about him seemed familiar, though I couldn't place it. He didn't ask for a room key or anything, just said he wanted to wait in the lobby. I told him we had no guests that night, except a few in rooms, and it was almost closing time. He smiled a little, then said, "You don't remember me, do you?" My heart skipped. "How do you know my name?" I asked. He shrugged. "I was your friend once. You forgot me." I stared at him, but he didn't move. Then he got up and walked slowly down the hallway to the old service elevator. The elevator door creaked open. He stepped inside, and the door shut. I wanted to call after him, but the words caught in my throat. Waited a few minutes, then went to check the elevator. It was empty. I asked around the next day if anyone had seen the man, but no one did. The hotel staff said no guest matching that description had checked in for months. I started digging through old employee records and guest logs. I found an old name. Jack. Someone who worked there years ago but disappeared suddenly. Some coworkers whispered about him being fired after an accident in the basement. I felt a chill. Could the man be Jack? The calls stopped after that night, but strange things kept happening. I'd find my office door unlocked when I was sure I'd locked it. My papers would be moved around, sometimes folded neatly, like someone was trying to send me a message. One night, I stayed late to finish some reports. The hotel was dark and silent. Suddenly, the overhead lights flickered. I heard soft footsteps behind me. I turned quickly, but no one was there. I felt a cold breeze brush past my face. Then I heard a voice, barely more than a whisper, say, "Don't forget me." I left the hotel immediately and didn't return until morning. When I got back, the front desk computer had a message typed on the screen. "I'm still here." I don't know who that man really was, or why he kept trying to remind me of something. But sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I still hear his voice, soft and low. "Don't forget me." And I'm afraid that maybe I already have.